Welcome everyone, this is Alex, and earlier yesterday I went out and picked up a PlayStation 5 DUALSENSE controller, which are starting to appear ahead of the console launch. If it's not an aim-intensive PC title, like any kind of shooter, I'm often playing my other PC games from the comfort of my couch on the TV with a controller. Although I use the Xbox One controller from time to time, the PS4 controller has been my go-to on PC, mainly because of its D-pad that I find to be much better for 2D games, like platformers. That is the main reason why I rushed out to pick up the PS5 DUALSENSE, not because I have a PlayStation 5 yet, sadly, but so I can try it out for day-to-day PC gaming. This is going to be one part a look at how it functions on PC prior to having official support, and another part my general impressions or review of how the DUALSENSE feels as a controller overall. I will be specifically not using any third-party programs to get this up and running, so let's now take a look at what happens when you simply plug in a PS5 controller via USB to your PC. So first, the bad news. I tried a few different launchers other than Steam, like Ubisoft Connect, Battle.net, and the Epic Games Store, but as far as I could tell, the DUALSENSE is not yet supported for those whatsoever. However, if you mainly play through Steam like me, you're in luck because it does work with every game I tried after a few important settings were tweaked. First, you need to go into the controller settings and map each button on the controller since it doesn't fully recognize it, and this next part is vital, otherwise you'll have very hit and miss compatibility results. On each and every game, there might be a better way to do this. You need to go into properties and change the Steam input per game setting to Force On. That's pretty much it. After that, I had full seamless compatibility with the DUALSENSE through Steam. Because it's not officially supported yet by so many other platforms, can't say I wholly recommend rushing out to get one just yet, unless you plan to play the vast majority of your games through Steam. So now that we got the setup out of the way, it was only a minor headache in the grand scope of PC shenanigans, let's get into how this thing actually feels to use. Initially, the DUALSENSE looks somewhat large and does have a decent weight to it, but after putting it directly next to a few other controller types, it's really not as huge as what it seems on its own. The thumbsticks are shockingly precise on this thing, emulating your inputs better than any modern gaming controller I've ever used. Take a game like Disc Room for example, requiring razor-precise movement. Using the DUALSENSE, I felt like the game instantly became 20% easier just from the raw precision I could control with these sticks. So in that regard, for 360 movement, third-person action in FPS games, really impressed, but like I mentioned before, the D-pad on a controller can make or break it, especially for those who play a lot of 2D games. Lucky to say, the D-pad on this thing is glorious, not feeling like a 4 separate direction thing to select menu options, but instead a proper gaming device that is supposed to be used for movement. The inputs are not too clicky, nor are they too squishy, hitting that perfect balance in the middle, and just like the analog sticks, the general precision of movement with both is a noticeable upgrade from last generation's build quality. As far as the face buttons, they seem fine, somewhat short, which is probably to improve the response of them, but it does take away slightly from that feeling of a real tactile button press. The bumpers and triggers, I really need to break those in and get more time in with them because they honestly stood out the least in comparison to everything else. The bumpers feel a little bit loose and wiggly from side to side, and the triggers feel almost identical to the PS4 controllers, just with a slightly better spring. They both function perfectly fine, but nothing exceptional stood out to me when I was pressing them. Of course, playing on PC before proper support and not on a PlayStation 5, I'm missing out on the big haptic feedback element and the touchpad functionality of this controller, which is why I'm holding back on my full judgment for right now, but in the back of my mind, if I were to officially review it, I would probably be hovering around the low 9s for this controller. The analog sticks and D-pad are the main elements I look for in a controller, and since this absolutely nails it in that department, this will definitely be my go-to PC gaming controller, even more so when it gets better supported by other launchers and Windows itself. So that's pretty much it, my early thoughts on the PlayStation 5 DUALSENSE. Hopefully this helped better inform you on if it's worth grabbing one early right now or not. By the way, I did try hooking this up to a PS4 and couldn't quite get it to work, maybe if you mess around with more of the settings, but yeah, it didn't work on my PS4 Pro. Let me know what your thoughts are on this controller, and also let me know if you're sticking with PC, getting a PS5, Xbox Series X, or all of them. Hey, that's what I do. Give me the plastic boxes that get me into the best video games. As always, this has been Alex from Boomstick Gaming, and thanks for giving this a watch.